my grandma shared this quote with me when I was little, and it was, "You can never steer a parked car." And that quote I've used that for almost every trying time in my life where I would just freeze up and be completely unknowing of which direction I'm going in. And I always remember that she said that to me, and it at least tells me to press forward, even if I'm 80% confident or 90% confident, that taking one step forward, driving the car, steering it in any aspect, but not staying parked, has at least allowed me to produce some really great things in my life, even if I was unsure about it.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm here with Kristina Ogden, and she's going to share her journey of Jiu Jitsu and how it's made her life, her leadership, her business, her family so much better. You don't want to miss this episode. Check it out. Kristina Ogden, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, of course.
We are new friends. We were just talking about this. We bump into each other. It seems like more frequently.
Yeah, of course.
In the jiu-jitsu space. And really fun stories. So we've been bumping into each other, we're following each other on social. And then you got to ref one of our cute little, adorable little guys' jiu-jitsu matches.
What was his name again?
Jax.
Jax.
Yep. And it was his first tournament.
Oh.
He was all nervous the night before. So we sent him videos. Hegan Machado even made him a video, and he comes out and I'm like, Jax, whatever happens, win, lose, draw, just smile. Do you remember the smiles on that?
I remember you saying that to him also. I did hear that.
He's getting choked by this girl, severely choked. I go, just smile. Yeah. It'll be okay.
In all fairness, I think the girl he went against, she's competing at 80cc today.
What?
I think that was Vesper. Yeah. It was such a off, gate. I mean, the two of them going together in the same division was probably a little unmatched.
So he's 30 pounds. He's 6 now. He's 30 pounds. Smaller guy. And there's not a 30 pound. It was a 45-pound division.
Yeah. Oh, so he was the smallest?
Yeah. But he caught a choke in his 4th match. He choked somebody.
That's awesome.
He's smiling. He's like, I got her. That's such pure jiu-jitsu, though. Do you see that, though? The little kids out there.
Oh, I love it.
It's just fun.
It's awesome.
They're digging it.
Yep.
Yeah. So catch everybody up. Like, what's your story? You do so many cool things, in the martial arts and the jiu-jitsu space and the business space. And, you're sharing a little bit about your story, but how'd you get here to Loveland in 2024?
Well, I moved to Colorado. I grew up in Oklahoma, Tulsa. I moved to Colorado in 2000, right after Y2K. My dad works for the airline, so right when they built DIA, he had an opportunity to move up here. And my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins are from here. So it was kind of an opportunity for our family to move back to be around everybody. So 2000, I moved to Berthoud and kind of grew up, went to high school there and everything. And prior to that, in Oklahoma, I was homeschooled. So it was a big transition for me, moving here, going to public school after homeschool, and making new friends, new state. It was a lot. And then after that, I met my husband, who is now my ex-husband right now. But whenever I went to high school, I met him. And he went into the military, so we moved away. And he was probably in for about 3 years or so. I was probably about 18 when I had my first child. So just parenting kids at a young age was required a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
So moved back here, and I think I just noticed that I wasn't the best W-2 employee when I was trying all these different jobs with a young kid and all these things I wanted to accomplish. And so we decided to open a business and, gained a lot of knowledge from that. And then around that time, I decided I wanted to kind of get back into shape after having kids and everything like that. So I tried out a jiu-jitsu class, and I just fell in love with it instantly. It allowed me to actively problem solve while I was also getting in a good workout. And it had this just incredible community that surrounded this activity that I was very quickly falling in love with. And so I started at a small MMA gym here in Loveland that was only open for a year. It was called Seraphim.
Yeah, I remember those guys, right?
Yeah, they were in the old Ferguson High School.
On Eisenhower. That was a guy named, was it Bob?
Yeah.
Bob, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
remember those guys, yeah.
So I was there for about a year, and they didn't last. Like, the membership base just wasn't there. And I'm sure you know, but back then, in like 2014, 2013, I mean, jiu-jitsu was brutal. There was no take care of your partner mentality.
No, '07 I started.
Yeah.
And it was just like, is kill or be killed?
Yes.
What it felt like?
Yeah, a bloodbath. So I was coming home with black eyes and bloody lips, and, it wasn't for me. So I did find a local gym closer to my home that had a kids program. So not only could I kind of fill that need for myself, but I could also introduce my kids to something that I fell in love with and that I really enjoyed, and I wanted them to kind of incorporate into their daily schedule. So we found McMahon's, which is an Easton gym. I was there for 9 years, fell in love with competing at every belt. And I've recently transitioned over to a local gym in Windsor that's called Catalyst. Yeah. And I think they have a Level location now.
They're right down the street. So Todd and I trained at another school. We met.
Oh, okay.
He's a couple years ahead of me.
Okay.
Guy's a beast.
He still is.
Us. He had just gotten his blue belt. He'd just murder me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still is. I just saw him on Saturday. Yeah. No, they're awesome. Todd and Jen are awesome.
I do love them. And they really pour into the kids program too. I love watching that. So it's been a good transition. And I do love that the community is so big and so, intertwined that I still have really close relationships with everyone at Easton as well. So, I think that's kind of where I found myself right now. I still actively compete, but I do have other ventures that I have sprinkled into my hobbies, and one of those is I started working for the commission. So I'm an inspector judge for the Colorado Combat Sports Commission. So you'll often see me at local promotions, whether it's MMA, boxing, Muay Thai tournaments. I actively ref at Jiu Jitsu tournaments as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I'm at UFC with my son.
Yeah.
And we had to pay, you pay a lot of money to go to UFC. We had pretty nice seats.
Thousands.
I'm like, Riley goes, you know her? I know her. That's Kristina. And you're walking out with Thug Rose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just hanging out, making sure she's good, right? That everything's good and following the rules. And you were right there in the cage.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's funny. I was making jokes with friends that were sending me pictures of me in the cage, and I said, I always thought I would be in here one day, but I came out there without a scratch.
Yes.
So it was nerve-wracking just to be in there and stand against the cage. I mean, to have a sold-out ball arena, all the lights and all the people, it is nerve-wracking just to be an inspector in the ring.
Right?
Can't imagine like going in there and being ready to perform at your highest level and be able to have your mentality just cued into, I'm fighting this one person and nobody else is in the room.
Yeah.
Rose is phenomenal. I've never been essentially a fly on the wall to her warm-up sequence, but it is insane. I mean, I've watched people warm up from, Jax, who's like first tournament at such a young age, to local boxing professionals, to Muay Thai students, to people that are just competing against one person versus a division of 64 people. I mean, and it's different. And watching her warm up, I mean, she is cued in. I mean, there is nothing that you're going to do to shake her mentality of her abilities. And she consistently repeats to herself, I'm the best, which I know that they said a lot of that. And I watched it firsthand, and I was just in awe of this incredible athlete. So it was just as much an honor for me to walk her to the cage.
So that's really cool. So what, I'm always curious, everybody's first jiu-jitsu class. We've had a lot of people in here that have tried it, but talk about that first class. Cause I got jumped. I was 27, like 200 pounds, big meatheads, like tons of ego and attitude. I'm like, oh, I'm going to come in and fight. They're like, go with Timmy. Timmy's 13, 14, 130 pounds. And I just went after him. Do you know Noah Thomas?
No, I
You
don't
know Noah?
know.
Oh, Noah's a good dude. And, I walk into the gym, he squeezes my arms. He's like, hey, tough guy, you here to do jujitsu? And they were like setting me up for the jump in, right?
Yep.
And I go after this kid, he flips me over the head, bench press him, spins, takes the arm. I mean, just repeatedly annihilates me, humiliates me. And I came back because I wanted to prove, well, I can do this to somebody. If you did this to me, I'm going to do this to you. So that's why I came back.
Oh.
But like, what was your experience like, your first class?
Well, I guess I skipped a little bit of this, but when I first started getting back into shape after my children, I started with like a cardio kickboxing program, and I did that before I found Seraphim. So I had been at Seraphim for about 2 weeks just doing striking. And I already had about 3 years leading up to that. So I was really comfortable hitting pads, hitting bags, doing partner work, doing some light sparring. And I just remember coming to class one day and no one else showed up. It was just me. And my instructor, who is Trevor Polhamus, he actually teaches at Catalyst. My instructor was like, let's just roll. And I was like, no, I don't know about that. Like, what is this, like wrestling? And he's like, it's fine. Like, we'll just roll light and I'll give you some instruction. And we did no submissions at all. We just did the UPA drill. I don't know if you know what the UPA drill is. But we did some basic UPA drill stuff. And if I didn't know what I was doing, he was just like, oh, bridge here, roll over here. We did a lot of knee slide.
You just did an infinity drill, right? Roll, pass the guard, hip switch, go to mount. Yep.
And it's also a little bit of an exchange. So you get to feel your partner do that as well. And I was just like, this is so cool. It's like a chess match. And, you get to memorize certain moves and it provides instant success as long as you remember the moves. So for me, I just became addicted in that first lesson. Now, I know everybody's first class is not always like that because it was basically a private lesson. But I kept coming back. And then we had a couple of classes where I had a partner that wasn't Trevor, and I still enjoyed it. And then I went to a class where they taught an arm bar, and I was just like, what is this sorcery? I can snap somebody's arm off?
It's magic.
Yeah, and I can do it, and if they tap, I just let go, and we're still friends. So there's not one thing that I haven't learned to love or appreciate about jiu-jitsu, because if the gym is ran properly, it's very safe. It's a very safe activity. Yeah. So as a female coming into it, don't feel like I've ever been unnecessarily intimidated. Sure, there's big guys, that squash you. But as a female, I've never appreciated more the fact that I've been able to be in a situation like that and learn to be calm, because then I can use my mind to get myself out of it. And naturally, you'll see women come in there and get smashed or pancaked by a large person, and they fight or flight. And so you have to come in there knowing I'm training my body to be comfortable here so that I can mentally help myself work out of this one move at a time. Yeah. So I haven't found anything I don't love about it yet.
Well, it speaks a lot to the gym cultures, right, of Catalyst and McMahon, where they're not trying to smash you, because they're not all like that. In the gym you walk in, and you've probably traveled and rolled. I've traveled all over.
I won't name any names.
Yep, I rolled into a school in Spain, and they didn't like who the affiliation was. They go, "Oh, you train under this affiliation?" Oh. And they jumped me.
Yeah. You had a red X on your back.
Yeah, they totally did. They totally did. But you mentioned as you're walking out with Rose, and you're like, this is the highest level of competing, right? Like you or I step into something like that, it's going to meet us and take care of us pretty quick. But I can't compete at that level, right? You step into the UFC, those guys are just all day, every day. But jiu-jitsu is cool because you can compete at the highest level that you're capable of, and somebody else meets you there, and then you just stop and just pause and reset, and it just totally pushes you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't always find myself, I guess let me back up. Being an inspector for the commission, I get to observe a lot of interactions between athletes and their coaches. And a lot of athletes come in there, they'll do a 5-minute warm up on pads and then run to the ring and fight. Whereas you'll see those higher caliber gyms with much higher tiered coaching, And they do a lot of different warm-ups. They'll do like light warm-ups, and then they'll do some intervals to get the heart rate up, and then they'll let them rest. They'll do some stretching. And then all the way through it, the coach is constantly peppering in those like mental feedback aspects of coaching, to encourage them, because our mind can be our worst enemy. It really can, especially for competitors. And so those higher level coaches that probably have done it before, they're athletes, they know right now, all they need right now is positivity. They don't need me to teach them a new move while they're warming up. Yep. They don't need me to tell them like, whatever happens, happens. No, they need you to tell them you're going to win this fight. Yep. And if you don't, we'll deal with that later. Yeah. So as a competitor myself, I quickly cue into which coach I want to go with me, because I do have those aspects of, overthinking and letting negativity creep in. And so I have to have somebody coaching me or cornering for me that is just telling me everything I want to hear, all the positivities. So I don't always love competing. That's not always the goal. It's nerve-wracking, but I love that putting something out in the future motivates me to hold myself to a higher standard every day, to get to the gym, to eat well, to sleep well, and doing all of those things to prep for a competition. It just feeds into every other aspect of my life. It allows me to just level up and treat people better and work harder at my job and, be more actively present with my kids. And so it's so funny how just putting a competition 3 months out and just putting a pin in it and saying, I'm going to do that. Yeah. It just sets everything up for success for me, knowing there's a weakness there. And if I do this, then it pushes me to just live at a higher standard, I guess.
What's really interesting, we have a lot of people that come in to train and, they're married or they've got other commitments. And they go, well, I don't want to take away from the other commitments, or maybe the spouse doesn't like the amount of time they're here, but then they're here for a certain amount of time and they come home, but things are better. Like, I'm better with my health. I'm better, more aware, alert at work or business. Yeah. Huge translation, I think, too, into business. Yeah. Right. Like, you're running a business now. Yeah. We go out there and get, shots fired. It feels like you're getting swung at every day, and whatever the pressure is, you can just be calm. Yeah. Think about the next move. Is the paint or roof on your home or business starting to look a little shabby? If so, reach out to one of our sponsors, M&D Painting and Roofing. M&D Painting and Roofing is a full-service residential and commercial painting and roofing contractor in Northern Colorado. And full disclosure, I'm the M in M&D. Check them out at mandpainting.com. Are you a small business trying to navigate all of the landscape of digital marketing and don't know where to go? Reach out to one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for all things digital marketing. They are the producers of this podcast, and they run all of the marketing for all of my companies. Check them out at imprint-digital.com and just go. That's been huge.
I had a conversation with a training partner. She's actually a really close girlfriend. And we were talking about not everybody is skilled at good time management, especially people that are entrepreneurs. They, a lot of the time, are the visionary, and they know exactly what they want it to look like, but they don't know how to do those little steps along the way. And what I love about jiu-jitsu is it forces you to obsess over those tiny little steps along the way, because sure, flying arm bars happen, but there's a lot of tiny little steps that you have to really pay attention to get to a successful finish. Yep. And I think that translates so closely into business, especially as an entrepreneur, that if you're a visionary and you train jiu-jitsu, you start to kind of merge the two mentalities, and you find that I'm actually better with time management in my business. And so now I have extra time, which means that training, it just is like commutative between both features of your life. And so now I have time to train because this is helping me grow this, and this is providing more time for this. So, and I think you'll talk to a lot of people that have put more than 2 years into their jiu-jitsu journey. And the feedback's going to be the same. This has changed my life.
2 years is the fallout too.
Yeah.
Is there stats about 2 years that people last if that?
Yeah.
And then it's done?
It's blue belt. Yeah, pretty much.
Blue belt blues, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
'Cause you're what, 14 years in now? 14, 15 years?
Yeah, this August was 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And I've consistently been training at least 2 to 3 times a week
And have
for
you
13 years.
seen the female population grow? In jiu-jitsu, we were talking a little bit offline. I mean, I remember when I started training in '07, there weren't a lot of female competitors. And then it's like the women would come in, and it was interesting to see the dynamic between how the men would react and respond. But just what's kind of been that experience as you've come into it? Because it's a big community, the female jiu-jitsu community.
Oh, sure. I actually have a friend of mine that introduced herself. I just met her about 6 months ago, and they started up this Mile High Women's BJJ club. There's about 500 women in that group right now. And when I first started, I mean, the only people that were training at the gym were me and Professor Julie Hopenick. I don't know if you know her or not. But gosh, it'd be interesting to ask her how many people were training when she started. But for me, it was scarce. It was so scarce to find women training. So you would, just kind of locate men that were around the same weight as you and train with them. But now, how would I describe this? There's a huge increase in volume of women giving it a try. There's a huge pool of white belts and blue belts that are not only trying it out, but sticking it out. And you're also seeing them in the competitor scene, even traveling competitors. I see them more at open mats as well, but there's still that fallout. A lot of them, I would be interested what the statistics would show how many women actually get to purple belt now. But I mean, looking at a brown or black belt division, it's still slim pickings.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they age out of competing by that belt, so even if there are a decent percentage of brown or black belt women still training, a lot of them they feel like they're too old to compete, even though, IBJJF has masters divisions up to 7.
Who's the jiu-jitsu gal? She's in like Master 7. Is she called Jiu-Jitsu Grandma?
I don't know.
She has a little Instagram page.
I'm going to have to find her.
Yeah.
But
she's a Gracie Baja, I think blue belt. Competing. She's 60, 65 or 70 or something.
Gracie Baja blue belt.
Just Google
Master 7.
Jiu-Jitsu Grandma, or she's out there on social.
Oh my gosh, I have to find her.
Yeah.
That means that she started at an older age.
Yeah.
See, and that's crazy. I mean, I still feel pretty athletic. I'm in my mid-30s, and I still weight train and eat right and sleep, and I still am pretty committed to jiu-jitsu and competing. But I know that like women, as they get into their 40s and 50s, that they really just kind of talk themselves out of being a competitor. But you'll be competing against somebody the same age as you, within 5 years. So I would love to see an influx of not only women, higher belt women training, but also competing. Because, I mean, how do you get better at something if you don't let your weaknesses surface? For me, every time I go compete, people always ask me, what's your game plan? I don't have a game plan. I strap on my tool belt of the skills that I've acquired and that I've trained, and I walk onto the mat and shake hands with this woman, and I allow my body to react. Because at that level and at that intensity, you don't think. Your body just reacts. And there are these magical moments where you do get to a position where you can control it and think and look at the score. But it doesn't
Sometimes
always
that's hard
happen.
to get to, though. When did you find? Because I remember the first one, because I go back and watch it. My first tournament, I had no idea what was going on. Like you were yelling that at me. I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't even hear you.
To be able to be in the middle of a fight and look at the time, know the time, listen to the voice you're supposed to listen to, maybe count points or look at points. That's a lot going on.
It's so much, especially if you're not quite sure where you're going and all the transitions. And I mean, I remember my white belt matches. It was just 100 miles an hour. My brain had completely shut off, and I was fighting for my life against this person that was using all their skills and muscle against me. And then you just hear the ref go, stop. And you're like, I don't even know if I scored points. I don't even know where I'm at with, I mean, it was just a free for all. And I would say maybe around early purple belt competing, I found that I really knew where I could stop and control a position, right? Mount or in a back position or side control, something like that. I probably wouldn't look at the score in like a knee on belly position, you know, but you do kind of learn these are my A game positions and I can hold this without 100% of my, you know, mental power. And so then you can glance at the score time. So
do you think that there's different reasons that would prevent women from starting jiu-jitsu? Because we're talking about just women in general coming into jiu-jitsu and how that's growing. And then, you know, as they get older. So we talked a little bit offline, you know, just about some of the ways that like schools will react or whatever the culture is.
Yeah,
towards women coming in to train.
I think, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on what we had talked about. But
we said something good, it sounded like, didn't we?
I know, I thought it was. But I think what I've heard, because I always try and invite females, I do some self-defense classes also on the side. And so I will encounter women that have been in abusive relationships, or they've been, you know, they've experienced some type of assault, and they'll show up to a class hoping that it's going to answer all of their questions, hoping that it's going to take away the pain, or hoping that it's going to, you know, give them an answer for like why what happened. And I've had a lot of really in-depth conversations with women that are willing to be open with me. And I always invite them to come to class, and they never do. And I don't have a confident answer for that, at least from those circumstances. But women coming into class, I think that they're apprehensive to it because there's so many men. There's so much aggression. They don't think like they're going to be successful with those type of techniques. And as much as women are social creatures, I mean, I don't know. I wish I had a better understanding for what really keeps them out of that first class, you know?
I mean, it's intimidating for anybody. I mean, I remember walking out, I was scared to death. Mm-hmm. And then I became more scared to death when I realized what they were doing. I just thought my being strong and big would serve me. And then I'm like, wait, this isn't working. And now I'm in the water. I don't know how to swim. I have no tools, no life raft.
Yep.
And everybody's circling around watching.
Trial class guys setup. Here.
Yeah, no, totally. And then I feel like, you know, my observation with men when they go to roll with, you know, a woman is either, you know, I'm going to smash her because there's no way I'm going to let a woman beat me, or I've got to be so careful because like she's so delicate that you're not letting them work.
Yes. I mean, I will say women that do come into the gym that are training, that I definitely hear all of the locker room chatter about women training with men. And it's difficult. I mean, I empathize with men because it is hard to train with a woman. You want to let them work. You want to let them be successful. But there's also a little bit of that hierarchy. And I think if you go too easy on them, then the woman doesn't feel like she's getting good training, you know, because they're just being babied. So it's a hard dynamic. I would love to see more women join a gym, give it a try. Not every class is going to be perfect, but you know, if you give it 2 to 3 months, I think you'll find that you're very successful. It is a martial art that is geared towards a smaller person being able to attack, not necessarily attack, but defend themselves from a larger attacker. Mm-hmm. And most women are a little bit more cerebral in that sense, that they catch on to the systems and the flows and the transitions much faster than some men want to muscle and squeeze. Mm-hmm. And so I find women that if they stick it out and they wait 3 to 4 months, that they exponentially improve from that point on, because it just all makes sense.
Well, it's funny because Joey, our producer, he came in. He's what, 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah,
and we both look over like, you got long legs. You're like, you got big, thick, long legs. We're like, we would attack those legs. We both looked at him. You said he was big boned.
He's big boned.
How do you feel about that, Joey?
I feel fantastic.
You feel all right?
You
feeling good? You big boned podcast producer over there?
Big bone in the sense that I literally have giant bones.
You do? Has the doctor told you that?
6'6". I mean, you just got to look at me. You know,
you have long bones, but they look like they're big and round as well.
Well, because I've been going to the gym.
That's what it is. That doesn't grow your bones.
Well,
Yeah,
bro,
I was gonna say.
it does.
How do you grow your bones?
Resistance
at the gym?
training actually increases your bone density. Fun fact.
The density.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I also used to be 185 at 6'6", so I was very skinny.
Did you get picked on?
I got picked on in middle school. Yeah.
Did you?
A lot.
I'm curious, Kristina. So you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
So we're totally changing the subject, but in that transition into public school, did you deal with bullying? Did that play in at all? Like I went through that a bunch growing up.
What I think I experienced the most was a extreme desire to fit in. That was more so than really being bullied. And, being homeschooled, you kind of learn to just be by yourself all the time. And so those social skills of how do I integrate within this group of people? They all seem to have all these inside jokes and, similar trends, and everybody just kind of jumps on the bandwagon when some new topic comes up. And I was definitely not that type of person. I walk to my own beat, and, I think for myself. I hate jumping in on a mentality that everybody just has no feedback. I guess the sense would be a topic of conversation comes up and everybody's just like, oh, sure, that makes sense. I'm more questioning and researching and trying to figure out if it does make sense before I jump in on that topic. And so I don't know. I didn't really struggle with bullying. I got along with most everybody, but in hindsight, looking back, I tried really hard to get along with everybody. And sometimes I sacrificed the things that I really thought about because I just kept them quiet just to fit in. And so it took time to find my own voice, and it took time to be able to say, I don't agree with that, But man, once you find your own voice, that's so sweet. It's so sweet.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's so nice. So yeah, that was a little bit of the transition there between homeschool to public school. And I think part of that was once I found my voice and I started speaking up, I really found peacefulness in being a leader. When I would speak up and have a different point of view than everybody else, a lot of people started going, that's an interesting perspective. Yep. Wonder what else she has to say on these things. So I really found my identity through high school, I think. Whenever I moved up here and started high school in the public school system, that freshman, sophomore year, I was pretty calm, sheepish, shy, played sports, didn't know many people. And then I kind of started to find that voice. And I think that's where my identity started to build, away from the homeschool life, away from transitioning to Colorado from Oklahoma. And I think the biggest thing is what my tendency is to clam up or be quiet or not move forward. And when I do that, you end up clinging on to everybody else's direction and everybody else's thought process. And my grandma shared this quote with me when I was little, and it was, "You can never steer a parked car." And that quote I've used that for almost every trying time in my life where I would just freeze up and be completely unknowing of which direction I'm going in. And I always remember that she said that to me, and it at least tells me to press forward, even if I'm 80% confident or 90% confident, that taking one step forward, driving the car, steering it in any aspect, but not staying parked, has at least allowed me to produce some really great things in my life, even if I was unsure about it. Yeah. And I can't tell you the moment that I decided to speak out and have a voice, but I know it was somewhere there in high school, and I just remember feeling so quiet and so in the shadows and not authentically myself that one day I just said, no, I'm not doing that. Or yes, these are my goals and I don't care if they're judged. I'm pressing forward on this and we're going to see what happens. And it's my success or my failure.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious too, because you mentioned, and I've kind of parked it here. I kind of sheepishly grinned a little bit. You're like, I found out I'm not W-2 material. So did you, because I'm not either. And did you find that out from like getting fired or just not sticking with like not wanting to answer to the authority? How did you find that out? And then how did that lead into business? Because you're running a business now, helping other businesses with their business.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that and how that all played out.
Well, just for context, my mom has been a stay-at-home mom my whole life. Maybe once or twice she's had little jobs here to help out, but she's been a stay-at-home mom my whole life to all my siblings. And my dad has been at American Airlines my whole life. I mean, his resume has one company on it. And so I grew up with that old-fashioned type, you get a job and you remain loyal to that company. You pay into the retirement program, you never leave, and you just work. And I started that at 16. My first job, I worked in the church coffee house, and I just work. I had to be there at a certain time. Whether work was done or not, I had to stay there until a certain time. And every job was like that throughout my whole life. And I had good work ethic. I was punctual. I was there. I worked hard. But I often found that I poured in more passion, more investment, more enthusiasm, more ideas into the growth of a company. And I did that over and over and over again. And just because I wasn't the most likable person at the company, I was always overlooked for promotions or raises, or, if there was something wrong and they needed to scapegoat it to somebody, it was like, okay, well, sure, I'll take it and we'll fix it, and it was just easier to take the blame and move on, and it just, the dynamic of it, I just felt like I was always being pushed down and like held under a table until I decided to, my ex-husband and I actually opened an automotive and diesel shop. I remember we were at church one day and the pastor was calling people down if they needed prayer. And I remember him saying it felt like someone grabbed him from the back of the shirt and walked him down there to ask for prayer. And when he came back, he had a couple tears in his eyes. And I was like, what was that? And he's like, we need to start a business. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And we were 85% sure on what we were doing. And, I had a finance background and business background, and he had all of the knowledge of automotive and diesel. And we started it, and it was our lifeblood for 15 years. I mean, we did everything, and it provided for us and our family, and it was amazing. During the time that we owned that, we opened 2 other companies, or we bought them, kind of built them up a little bit and resold them. And a lot of companies just need that. They just need a little tweaking and organizing and systems and like treating the people well. And it just kind of levels up the value of the company. And then you have a buyer that wants to come in and manage the system and the machine you built. So that's something that I'm really proud of doing. And I could have never done that as a W-2 employee.
If you've got junk in your life or business that you need removed, reach out to one of our sponsors, Hulk Addicts. They are a full-service junk removal company, and they'll be able to take care of you at your home or your business to get rid of whatever you don't want. Check them out at hulkaddictsjunk.com. As a small business owner, one of the things we will always need to address is a space to run our business. If you're looking to do a small tenant finish, maybe even build a building from the ground up, you've got to reach out to one of our sponsors, Mendel Construction. They are a full-service commercial contractor that can take care of your business needs to build the space and place of your dreams to run your business. Check them out at mendelandcompany.com. If you're a Christian small business owner, you have to check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. They are a Christian peer advisory community here in Northern Colorado and the Front Range that is designed to give you encouragement, support, and insight to grow your business with other like-minded Christian business owners. Not only are they a sponsor and a partner of this podcast, but I'm also a member of their community. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com.
And just my passion and imagination and like vision for certain things it's really allowed me to express myself in business. And I always find that that's kind of where I'm at with jiu-jitsu is I have 100 moves, but I get to pick and choose what I want to do to be successful in a certain avenue. So yeah, they've always kind of helped me be me.
Love that. What have been some of the biggest business lessons that you learned?
The biggest business lessons, I should have thought about this ahead of time. Business is people. I mean, hands down, any good business that's providing a decent product is going to bring in revenue, and it's going to cost money to do it, and it's going to turn and burn, and you'll have some profit. But how you take care of your people is how the business is going to function. They're the lifeblood of everything. Having extensive turnover because you don't treat people well is such a resource suck of time, of money, of energy, of training. I think it even creates a lot of instability with the people that do stay in the business. Seeing people come and go, it's hard to watch an excessive churn within a company. And it's so easy to prevent. It is so easy to prevent. And
so just like being aware of it. So, cause my journey, so I mentioned, back in the day, I'm like ego, attitude, you do this to me, I do this to you. And that's just from my story and my past. So, you do business like you do jiu-jitsu, right? You do a lot of things like you do jiu-jitsu. It says a lot, but I was just like steamrolling people. I'm like, what's everybody else's problem? Why is everybody leaving? What the hell's wrong with this 10th person that left? And somebody just, had to hit me with it. I think it's you.
Yeah.
It's you. You're kind of a jerk, and I had no concept of people. I thought it was a cog in the wheel, P&L, numbers on paper, sales, ratios, closing rates. But for me, just realizing it was important. Do you think people just don't realize it that have that churn and burn, or they don't care? I mean, what would you tell businesses? Like, where can you start if you're having those issues?
Let's see. About 3 years ago, I read Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. Have you read that?
Yeah.
And it's a lot about people. I think, so jumping over to jiu-jitsu, if you have a heavyweight instructor that expects every person, every body type, every age, every experience level to understand how to do a move the way they do a move. I'm not 220 pounds. I'm not going to do a move the way that you do. I'll just get bench pressed off. So those coaches that understand that everybody comes from a different background of skill level, how they learn, how they train, maybe even how much they're putting into their training, but understanding that everybody comes from different walks of life, that translated into business is an owner that understands, how do I pull out and figure out what people's gifts are? Because if somebody is not a people person, you don't want them at your front desk.
It usually doesn't go well.
It doesn't. People don't make it past that front desk. Yep. So I think, repeat your question one more time, just so I make sure I'm on the right.
What was the question?
About
yeah, just where you start, like where people realize, like, just where do you start if you're having those issues, other than just realizing you've got the issues?
I think a lot of owners, first of all, a lot of business owners, and I don't want to use the term boomer, but I think a lot of business owners that have acquired a financial stability to either open a company or take over a company are in that still industrial age type mentality. And the industrial age mentality is bring in the numbers. This is my workforce. These are the things I need done. Do it. And then there's a paycheck at the door as you walk out. And it's not that way anymore. Our generation has really been tailored to think for themselves, to, have that mentality of do what you love and you'll never work another day for your life, in your life. And, so you have a lot of dreamers in the workforce these days, which is not a problem, but a lot of them haven't tailored it to, I'm a dreamer, but I also need to work in order to afford the life I want, right? And so sometimes you have to find a middle ground. And those owners, I don't know if they've really, not all owners, but those owners with that mentality, I don't know if they've really accepted that I need to bring in people and inspire them. I need to be able to pinpoint their gifts, and I need to be able to put them where they can be successful, set them up for success, because if they're successful, if they feel appreciated, then they're going to make my business money for me, really, essentially. So you have to grease the wheels of the machine. You have to make sure that everything is maintained and working well, because then the machine just runs. And a lot of people, I don't know if they know how to dial it down to those more intricate parts of working with people.
And this took me a long time to figure out, but just knowing somebody's story and where they come from and their background and how that fits into the business, and knowing that you care about them.
Yeah.
And you're contributing to their life and just making it better.
Absolutely.
It's not always about business. It's always fun in business to hit the brakes when something comes up and you've got to address just an important part of somebody's life that needs to be addressed. Now you do accounting and bookkeeping for businesses.
Yes.
Have you ever looked at it? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but do you see the ones that are more profitable consistently tend to have that culture? Have you ever kind of lined those up and looked at it that way?
In the beginning, I took anybody that wanted to work with me because I was building. Right. And I think as you kind of go into that supply and demand, you be able to assess the perceived value of a company coming in. And really that comes down to working with people I want to work with. Yeah. And I love working with people that have high communication skills, that value high communication skills, and that I'm inspired by their business ventures. I've had some people that come to me and they want to open a weed shop and they want to, buy some property in Venezuela. And I'm like, well, get your ducks in a row and contact me in a couple months and we'll talk about it.
Do you work for any weed shops?
No.
That's all cash.
I know.
Here's the cash. Figure out what to do with this. You deposit it.
But a lot of those people those are the owners that have 6 credit cards and they're spending personal and business on all the credit cards. Yeah. And they're just like, well, my accountant will handle that. And a lot of the times now, as I start to organize certain businesses that I work with, I try and really work with honest, loyal, communicative people that I'm proud to help. And I'm more apt to throw little things at them here and there just because I want to see them be successful. Yeah. If they're successful, they're going to need me. So those are kind of how the reasons that I pick or choose certain people that I work with. Yeah.
So I meet a lot of businesses. They come for coaching. Oh yeah. Hey, I need some marketing help. I'm like, cool. Send me this, and send me your P&L and balance sheet.
Yeah.
Like, my what?
Yeah, my what?
Or they'll send over like a bank statement or an Excel spreadsheet, and it's fun to joke about, but it's not funny. What do businesses need to know? Top just couple of things about accounting, bookkeeping, tracking all that stuff. Because I meet so many.
Oh yeah. If you're serious,
so many that they don't have a clue. They don't know. Nobody's ever told them.
Yeah.
And it freaks me out.
My gosh. Well, first year sole proprietors, typically you see just a mess of everything intertwined. And as a sole proprietor, sure, you can get away with that for the first year or so. But if you're serious about organizing your business and you want to have reports that actually show a value and actually show the growth from year one, take the extra time to organize in the beginning, right? Separate your business and personal expenses, establish some type of an LLC or some type of business structure that is appropriate for where you're growing your business to. Yes. And I mean, shameless plug, but hire at least a bookkeeper. Yeah. And in the first year, a bookkeeper could be 1 hour a month. Mm-hmm. You organize everything. You put it all in there, but you have a second set of eyes on something that just says, yes, this is correct. Or let's tweak this. Let's put a journal entry in here, shift these over. This is more advantageous for you for taxes. And those kind of decisions could cost you $80 a month. And now your business has an extra year of proper reporting. And when it comes time for tax time, you call up your bookkeeper, you have him or her print out all your reports. Yep. Taxes are a breeze because you've already planned throughout the year. And it takes that level of stress during tax time where you're at April 14th and you're just going, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
So that would be my one financial feedback. And again, don't fear liabilities. A lot of businesses operate with liabilities. You just want smart liabilities. So if you have to buy something, don't go shopping with big eyes, be smart. Yep. Sometimes companies will open and they'll buy all new brand new vehicles. Why? Yep. Be choosy with your choices in the early first 5 years of your business.
Seems like contractors, right? Like roofers, painters, we need the big truck.
Yeah.
Right? The big truck.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. But even as simple as, right, if you're going to be an LLC, right? Mm-hmm. Be an LLC, mm-hmm. tax ID, mm-hmm. take your articles mm-hmm. to the bank, open a business bank account, put your initial contribution in there. Yeah. All of the money that's business money comes in. Yeah. All of the expenses that are business go out. Yep. Get a QuickBooks online, sync it up with your bank. Yep. And then know where all that money needs to go. It's income, it's a cost of good, it's an expense. And have somebody go pay somebody $200 to show you how to do that. Yeah. And get in front of it. Mm-hmm. So you're not a business. I know a couple, they haven't reconciled that stuff for a couple of years. Mm.
Yes. Yeah. I've had people like that come and see me.
Well, and a lot too. Well, how's the business? Oh, we're profitable. We got money in the bank. That doesn't mean you're profitable. Money in the bank has nothing to do with P&L, right? Like that's just a historical document that tells you your future projection. And you can learn from that. So we're at a point, every week to 2 weeks, that's all up to date. You know where you are. And you're not going to be like that in the first year, but just get something.
Yeah. Well, and it depends. It depends on the industry. I don't know if you guys do a construction accounting or not, because I don't know how long your painting goes out. But some of my construction clients see their P&L go like this because they have all their expenditures, and then 1 month they have no revenue, and then the next month all revenue and no expenses. And just having somebody advise you on proper accounting to where when you go to the bank for a loan, they don't go, what is going on here? And they're simple entries that take half an hour. Yeah. So it is a new business owner's tendency to wear all the hats. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, finding someone you trust and that you feel a connection with, that you can communicate back and forth with, they grow with you. Yep. And then as you grow, then you learn to trust each other and you learn to communicate, and mistakes might be made, but you learn to trust them through those mistakes if they can be corrected and they take feedback. And so that would be my number one thing is a new business owner at least needs to partner with a bookkeeper, even at the lowest level, 1 hour a month. Yeah. Just to have a second set of eyes on it, or CPA.
Yeah. It's huge. And then they do that and come back. Oh my gosh, this is like magic too.
Yes.
P&Ls. We've talked about so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to share or throw in there? I mean, so much value for everybody tuning into this. What else do you want to give us before we wrap up?
I think the only other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is I recently started a promotion for Jiu Jitsu super fights. And
we didn't talk about that.
I know. Well, I wanted to kind of segue into it when we were talking a little bit about not being 100% sure, to move forward. And I met this other promoter through working through the commission, and we decided to kind of partner. He owns Ghost Town Promotions, and we decided to partner one day, grab dinner, talked about it, felt this connection and vibe with just honesty, loyalty. I had worked with him for a couple of months, and I just said, let's try it out. I didn't know if it was going to be successful. I didn't know if we were going to be in the red. We just decided to kind of throw like a real basic pro forma together for the first event. and start seeing if people wanted to compete. And it kind of grew, and it was phenomenal. Our first event was on July 6th. We had 24 super fights, and we had over 400 members kind of trickle in throughout the event, which was insane. It was at the Boulder County Fairgrounds.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're holding another event on September 8th. So it'll be event 2. We'll see how that one goes.
Really cool.
But I think just cueing back to that quote from my grandmother that you can't steer a parked car. I had been wanting to open a promotion for years. And I had seen how other promotions didn't always treat their athletes well, or didn't pay them well, or didn't do good matchups. A lot of different things. Didn't even have medical there for them if they were injured. And so I really felt this desire, this fire inside to just give it a try. And I just happened to meet this other promoter, and we just said, let's run with it. And 85%, those are good odds. I felt pretty confident in at least taking a step forward. It's better than Vegas odds.
That is.
Yeah.
Love that. And then it was good enough to go to a next one and make it a little better, each time.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think that's another thing, just to pull together jiu-jitsu and business and life, that you have to be willing to hold yourself accountable and to go back and have some introspection to see where you could be better, where you can improve. In jiu-jitsu, not all my moves are clean and tight, and so I have to be able to say, I need to work on that. And as a business owner, I do the same thing. Maybe my scheduling's not on point. Maybe my turnaround time on responses for emails is not on point. And so I take inventory of things that are working well and things that aren't working well in every aspect of my life: friendships, family, with my children, with business, with jiu-jitsu. And I really think that skill set came from jiu-jitsu. So I'm just so thankful that I found that, because it has exponentially improved all other aspects of my life.
Love it. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
Thanks
of
for doing
course.
this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and taking a risk. I mean, we really hadn't met. You're like, who is this guy? Podcast? What are we doing? Coffee?
Well,
at the coffee bar.
I've seen a couple of clips from your stuff, and I'm just like, yes, I agree. And so I had shared it, and then we just randomly started talking.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember how that started.
I think you were just in my algorithm one day.
I think it was. Well, we wrap up every show the same way. You picked your favorite color, and you wrote down, I think it's your favorite color.
Yes,
Grab yellow.
I love yellow.
Statement that you want to leave with the world when you leave it.
Well, I have two. And one is, without struggle, there's no progress. And my other one is, you can't steer a parked car.
Kristina Ogden, that's a wrap.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Would you make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel here? And please share this episode with somebody whose life it will make better. Are you a faith-based father and you want to have the adventure of a lifetime with your son? You have to check out the father-son hike of a lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June of 2025, I'm going to be taking a small group of fathers and sons over to Spain. We are going to spend 6 days, hike 70 miles, have some of Spain's most amazing cuisines, see some of the most beautiful places and spaces, but most importantly, spend time together bonding with our sons. If you're interested in this adventure, check out mattshoup.com. When you get to the website, click the Gentle Art of Leadership button and hover down to the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime.